2018 was a successful year for FAR Limited, with significant progress of the world-class SNE offshore oil development project. The evaluation report was submitted to the Government of Senegal and followed by the exploitation and development plan. In addition, FAR completed one of the best farm-in deals globally to strike a deal with Malaysia's Petronas to free carry FAR through one of the most keenly anticipated offshore exploration wells of the year. The Samo-1 well was the first well to be drilled offshore the Gambia for 40 years, and FAR drilled the well under budget and safely, which is a coup for a company drilling its first deep-water offshore well. The Samo-1 results were not as expected, and coupled with a big drop in global oil prices, FAR shares have been heavily sold down. Analysts covering the stock are surprised at the selling, given the underlying value in FAR, especially in the SNE field development. I'm here to talk about this situation and what the next year holds for FAR shareholders with FAR Limited Managing Director Cath Norman. Cath, why do you think the share market is not recognising the value that's been created within FAR?
Yeah, it's very frustrating, Ian, from a FAR point of view. I think the market's generally forgotten in the wake of Samo what we've still got in Senegal. We've got 120 million barrels of contingent resources to our name that are heading for development, with first oil coming in 2020. Of that 129 million barrels, 90 million have been fully appraised and are going to be part of the phase 1 development, the full field development. And today, if you take that 121 million barrels, it's only $2 US a barrel if you look at our market cap. So, it's giving us no credit for any other projects we've got and no credit for any cash we've got in the bank. And it's still a really low price, especially when you consider a bit of oil price recovery from this time last year. We're currently sitting at just under $63 a barrel.
Cath, do you think there's a bit of a misconception out there in the marketplace about funding issues for the Senegal project?
I don't think there should be, Ian. We've said that the financing for the SNE development will be a combination of project financing that the joint venture will be embarking on together, as well as a component of equity. And that debt that's coming from the project financing is expected to be about 50% of the cost of the development, and then the individual companies will be covering their own equity. Now, that equity is not only shareholder equity, but it's also other forms of financing that FAR will be looking to find. And I've said a few times that we'll be looking to announce or make it clear to our shareholders how that financing will pan out over the course of this year.
Okay, we might talk about the Samo well and the Gambia project in general in a moment. But in the meantime, the SNE project has reached some major milestones in the past 12 months. Perhaps you'd like to expand a bit on that. Yeah,
it's been a really big year in Senegal this year. So most important for us was to get the evaluation report submitted, which was submitted in the mid-year. And that's really our statement of commerciality. And it triggered a few things. It triggered us getting the development plan ready to be submitted to the government, but it also triggered Woodside's right to take over operatorship of the joint venture, which they've now done. So at the end of October, we submitted the development plan to the government, and we are hoping to have that approved very soon. We've got to remember, though, that in Senegal there are elections at the end of February, and I think that there probably won't be a lot of activity at government level until then. So we announced in December that the joint venture was progressing with FEED, the front-end engineering and design, for the SNE development, and that's ongoing regardless of approvals for the development plan, which we're expecting to come through at some stage.
Okay. So what are the key milestones you're looking for on the SNE project in the current year?
So this year is all about FEED, really. So FEED has commenced, as I said. We're aiming to finish in mid-year to Q3, the FEED process, and we'll be putting out information along the way as we select successful tenders for the FPSO, the drilling, and as we get closer to finalising what the costs will be for the CapEx for the development as well. We've given some guidance as a joint venture that it's going to be about $3 billion US for the development for phase 1. In addition to SNE, we still have our discovery at FAN, our discovery at SNE North, and our discovery at FAN South. And we've made an application to the government to extend the PSC to allow us to appraise those discoveries so that they can eventually be tied back into the SNE field. Now, FAN we've done a bit of work on, and we've declared some contingent resources, but we've never drilled an appraisal well on Fan. And we're still very immature in terms of our understanding of the SNE North and the Fan South discoveries. So that work will be ongoing, and looking forward to bringing some results to our shareholders over the year. We will be acquiring some seismic during the year over part of SNE North, SNE and Fan to help us get some more information over those areas before we progress towards appraisal drilling.
Clearly still a lot of work to be done in Senegal, and a lot of upside in that project to come. Now, just moving on to the Samo well and the Gambia, as I said earlier, the results in the Samo well were unexpected, and it caused quite a severe share market reaction. How would you characterise the results in Samo?
Yeah, look, disappointing, there's no doubt about that. We originally gave the Samo well a 50-50 chance of success. Unfortunately, as often happens in our industry, we were on the wrong side of that 50%. But look, this is a natural progression when you're drilling in a frontier area. We drilled 11 successful wells in Senegal. We know there's 5 billion barrels, not quite, but nearly 5 billion barrels of oil in place in Senegal. And so we've got an enormous oil generating source rock offshore that is charging any potential traps in the Gambia. When we originally drilled Senegal, we also knew that the overlying geology was very complex, and it took us some time to unpick that, and that's why we released a series of contingent resource updates as we drilled our appraisal wells in Senegal. Now, it turns out that a step out 20 kilometres to the south was too far, and the overlying geology was quite complex, and we didn't pick it as we thought we had. So it's back to reprocessing the seismic with that important result from Samo included. And as always, when you have another data point, you better your chances of making a discovery next time. So in the coming months, we'll be releasing our new prospect inventory. We'll be talking to our partner Petronas about, and the government about, drilling another well in early 2020, and that's what we'll be gearing up for in the Gambia. By no means are we finished with A2 and A5. It's really, especially A2 is a very exciting block, and we know that we've got potentially the extension of the SNE field into A2, which is hugely exciting. I'd like to remind you of a little story really about Exxon, and of course Exxon have been really successful with exploration in the last couple of years, and one of the big fields that they discovered offshore Guyana in South America is called Liza. And Liza is now 4 billion barrels of recoverable oil, and it'll be going into production in a couple of years with 4 FPSOs producing oil. I went to a talk by the exploration manager for Exxon, and he said that they drilled a number of appraisal wells on Liza, thought they had a handle on the area, made a step out and drilled skipjack, and got a huge shock because it was dry. They took the information from skipjack, reworked the geology, and went on to drill 5 or 6 more discoveries in the area. And it is now a hugely successful and a very important province for ExxonMobil. So this is just part of the maturation process when you're drilling in a frontier area.
And what it demonstrates from shareholders' perspective is that if you're going to invest in an oil exploration company, you certainly need some patience.
You need some patience, that's right, because if this was easy, everyone would be doing it.
So, in your view, the unexpected result out of Samo has in no way downgraded the prospectivity of the A2 and A5 blocks?
Well, clearly the Samo prospect itself is not where we thought it was, and it's not the size we thought it was. But we still have other prospects in A2. Our Solu prospect, we're just going back and remapping now with the value of hindsight and the information that we got from the Samo well included. And that's likely to be the next prospect that we drill.
What's the timing on that likely to be?
So we will be making preparations to drill for more than likely early 2020. But I'm saying that we don't yet have buy-in from the government and our partners to that plan, but that's something FAR would like to see.
Cath, there's a lot of work ahead of you in Senegal and in the Gambia. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ian.